Hi everyone, here is the SRC Social Research Center broadcasting channel is on the air on YouTube, welcoming you with the very first program which is dedicated to highlight the latest activities and social research survey projects conducted by the center. To briefly mention, the SRC has been established by the President of Azerbaijan early this year, according to the presidential decree signed on February 8, 2019, with the purpose of conducting social research and projects in a wide range of topics addressing the most critical domains from the public and social sphere in order to learning or measure the public opinion through these survey projects and research. My name is Ayten Babayeva. After several years of professional experience in Italy, my current occupation is working as the International Cooperation and Development Specialist at the position of Communication Consultant as well. Now, today we're gonna talking about the topic which is hot on the agenda of the center as well as in the country's agenda these days. This is the reveal of the results of the latest public survey carried out in October this year, became the resonance coming to the main focus of the public starting from the beginning of this week. Actually, not only within the borders of Azerbaijan, but this issue is also grasping the attention of neighboring societies and states as well. Now, to be more precise, here we are going to discuss with my colleague sitting next to me on the consequences of the latest social survey, which was implemented in October this year under the supervision of the Analysis of Public Opinion Department at the Social Research Center. Shortly after the finalization of the recent public surveys run by the SRC, the newly released report presented followingly at the end of the successful completion of the survey that spotlights the recent political and social commitments acted by the President of the Republic of Azerbaijan in October this year. So now I would like to address with some related questions to my peer from the Social Research Center, Mr. Inglab Shahbazov, the sociologist and the team member of working group who was in charge of the fulfillment of the already mentioned survey. Well, Inglab, firstly, please give a brief introduction about yourself, and then we can keep going on.
Thank you, Ayten. My name is Inglab Shahbazov. As you mentioned, I'm working as a chief consultant at the Department of Social Research Center. I did my higher education in United Kingdom. I did my BA in sociology between 2012 and 2015. Then I was admitted to the London School of Economics and Political Science to do my master's in criminology and criminal justice system. Now I'm working as a sociologist and researcher. Before coming to SRC, I also did take part in a number of sociological projects in different organizations and as well as individually. That's a brief introduction about myself. We can now move on to the main part of our discussion, with your permission.
Thank you. Well, I would like to firstly ask, please firstly give a bit introduction of the necessity of carrying out this survey. I mean, first and foremost, to touch a bit the main details of the released report conducted by the SRC. What were the main triggering facts or reasons that the current outcomes came out? To be more specific, may I ask to state the objective of this survey recently conducted by the SRC? Why October has been chosen in particular to take this survey, or which events like in October were covered by the survey and most recorded with? Yeah, please, the floor is yours.
First of all, October was very important in two respects, political and economic. In political front, we had three very big political events. Valday Discussion Club, Turkey Council's Summit in Baku, and Council in Ashgabat, Turkmenistan. In all of these events, our president participated and made important speeches and statements. In domestic policy front, we had the restructuration of the Ministry of Economy, which was expanded as a result of the integration of Minister of Taxes and State Committee on Property Issues, as well as State Committee on Anti-Monopoly Measures and Protection of Consumer Rights. So now we have a much bigger Minister of Economy. Also, the Minister of Economy was changed. As you know, the previous Minister of Economy was removed and the former Minister of Taxes was brought into his place. So government has a number of plans in the management and development of economy, of course, particularly non-oil sector and agricultural sector, as well as some other sectors that are not dependent on oil. So these were very important events. As a social research center, we wanted to learn people's opinion and attitude towards these changes and reforms. How people perceive these events. Are these events important for them? What are their expectations from the restructuration of the Minister of Economy?
Or are they satisfied with the human resources management that's
exactly,
kind of ongoing in the country?
The question you just mentioned, I mentioned, are just some of the questions. We covered a wide range of issues to be able to capture a very accurate and reliable picture and to see how people think about these reforms I just mentioned. That was the main event. That was the main objective, sorry. However, there is another objective behind choosing October as our timing of the survey. Because in June, we also carried out a survey with a similar purpose and similar questionnaire. There were some differences, of course, but there were some exact identical questions. Those questions allowed us to make comparative analysis to see what has changed between June and October. As you know, social research centers aim, probably primary aims, to monitor public polls and measure people's attitude and opinion on a wide variety of social, economic, and political issues. So this survey fulfilled our objective.
Okay.
Now we can move on to methodology, if you will.
I would like you to touch a bit more like the. I know that this survey is aimed to be conducted like by the monthly base. No, the monthly regularity of this survey. What can you say about this?
Of course, one of our aims is to measure public opinion
and to do this in a monthly,
basis. Yes, on a monthly basis, or quarterly basis, or we also have one survey which will be conducted 2 times every year. So in all measures, we are trying to keep track of what people think.
Okay, good. Thank you very much for such a description. Now please describe a bit of the backstage moments from the implementation process. That would also be interesting to our viewers to learn. So to make clear the conducting process or in analyzing methods of learning public opinion, I mean the length of time in terms of minimum required duration of data collection and processing, so to apply an analytical approach in assessing the collected data. No, I mean, we know that there is a widely applied and quite systematic approach in international practice in survey conducting. No, so how did you manage to apply the most updated and innovative survey methodologies and technologies? For instance, in considering the geographical area encompassed, accurate demographics of the surveys, and many other components of the methodological process and period. So a brief about the data collection and analysis. Please, the floor is yours.
I'll start from the beginning. First of all, questionnaire. Of course, that's a core component of any survey. In our questionnaire, we had 13 substantial questions and 5 socio-demographic questions. In our questionnaire was created and inserted into Survey2Go applications system. Survey2Go application is the program we have uploaded into our tablets.
Yeah, which is regarded as the most cutting-edge technology now.
Exactly. Yeah? Very advanced, very accurate, and very reliable. We use tablets as our data collection instruments. We don't use papers. Tablets are more reliable. Tablets also allow us to maintain distant monitoring of every activity of every interviewer from our office without being physically present. After we have this questionnaire, we also produced instructions for our interviewers, guidelines, and also provided training to them in our office. Once everything was done, we had to make our sample. How do we choose respondents? Usually SRC undertakes household surveys, and households are the primary unit of our sample. We go to people's doors, knock the doors, invite them to survey, and try to interact with them. However, in this case, we used Asan service centers. Asan service centers are scattered across country. 14 of them are operating. Although they are not present in every part of country, they are present in most areas of the country, providing wide geographical coverage. Of course, household survey is still relatively more probable and random
Yes.
than Ascent Service. I will mention it briefly later. Still, Ascent Service is able to give us very representative sample of Azerbaijani population, because there are at least two reasons. First of all, as I just mentioned, Ascent Service, there are 14 of them covering many parts of the country. In every Ascent Service center, there are people from adjacent and neighboring areas coming to Ascent Service. So let's say there's one Ascent Service in Sumgayit, but people from nearby areas also visit Sumgayit Ascent Service. So we can cover those people as well.
Yeah.
Secondly, we chose 3 specific services within each Ascent Service. Ascent Service, as you know, have a large number of services providing to all kinds of people. However, there are at least 3 services which are provided to everyone, irrespective of their social status, their level of salary, their geographical area, their area of residence, and etc. There are 3 services: identity card applications, passport applications, and utility service applications. Everyone comes there at least once in their lifetime, at least, but probably many times during their lifespan.
Yes.
So we were able to cover all kinds of people. These are 2 main.
So we can call it as a quite diverse contingent of survey respondents, no?
Yes, diverse and representative.
Yes.
The representativeness is important in understanding nationwide opinion on any public matter and social matter.
That's
Once we had our sampling strategy ready, our people went to Ascent Service centers, and they approached every second person coming to these 3 services. As a result, we were able to recruit our sample. In terms of the data collection, as I just mentioned, they used tablets. Before starting survey, they asked respondents their informed consent, because respondent has to give his or her consent to participate.
Sure, that's one of the most important.
Very important. To get this consent, you have to make sure that they feel really comfortable and relaxed. To do this, we provided them with guarantee of anonymity and confidentiality.
Yeah, the confidentiality policy,
Their names or surnames will not appear anywhere. Actually, we don't ask them to provide their names or surnames. And that was really useful in attracting people and getting responses. As a result, of course, we got some rejections. That's natural. That happens in all kinds.
It happens everywhere.
Yes, and the country and society. In total, we recruited 1,313 respondents. In terms of our gender and age balance, with your permission, I would like to state them as well. We had 67% male and 33% female. This time our gender balance was relatively biased towards male. Usually we have this 50-50, or 51-49. This time this is different. There are some reasons behind it. I'm not going to talk about them because we have a very limited time.
Yes.
But that was kind of expected by our team. Our sample was mostly young. As you can see from our data, we had 34% of people from 26-35 age group. That was a major group in our sample. In terms of employment status, 22% of our respondents are working in public sector, 21% are working in private sector, 6.7 are pensioners, and the remaining part is the people from different sectors. 15% of our respondents were unemployed at the time of survey. That's it really. I think I covered almost all methodological issues, so we can move on to the next section.
Yes, thank you so much for such a descriptive and well-detailed introduction and brief about the methodology, survey methodology, and analyzing processes. Now, I would like to go to my third question, that you can confirm that this is the second large-scale survey conducted by the Social Research Center, that attempt to measure public assessment of President's course of actions, political conduct and policies, as well as his achievements in official service. so far. The first survey that has been done of its type, which was analyzing and presenting almost a decade's panorama to socio-political conduct of the president, that this reflects the consequent measurement in ratings of governmental achievements. So could you please give a bit more comprehensive explanation on how to evaluate the importance of learning public opinion in terms of assessing the responsible political commitment in regarding political personality of the president, his performance and recent social reforms, rather impactful social reforms policy. In other words, how significant role do these surveys play in the true assessment of a reliable way of conducting a survey, so which essentially characterizing or just specific standards to be set in a trusted public survey methodology?
Purpose of our surveys has always been to measure public opinion accurately. To do this, we have developed a number of measures, and we take them in every survey by SRC. They are the ones related to survey-to-go application, maintenance of anonymity and confidentiality, so people can speak freely without any fear of being targeted or identified. Also, we use as a sampling strategy, we use random sampling. Random sampling allows us to gather such sample that we can speak on behalf of everyone in the country. In this survey, we had 1,316 respondents. Methodologically speaking, that's well above the minimum required level of representativeness for a population of 10 million.
That's quite awesome.
Yeah, that's quite very impressive on our, to be honest,
sure, I agree.
Very representative, because with such a number of respondents, we have just 3% margin of error. So our findings could be different, positively or negatively, only by 3% if this survey is conducted again, replicated again. So that's really reliable indicator.
Quite effective, result. Yeah, so referring to your words, obvious that the survey results have been actualized and reached in a way that is based more on practical rather than theoretical applications, no? Yet at the same time, like running all in a successful tandem.
Yes.
No? So now, may I move on to my next question, that according to the results the results of this survey, what kind of general view and ultimate panorama came out regarding the issues that the survey questions encompassed, and what problems does the survey address more, especially when it comes to the officer public relation and interactions? No, public opinion is of quite important to be touched to. Please, I would like you to talk about this a bit.
Generally, our respondents' attitude towards political events in October, particularly, were high in terms of level of significance they attach to these events. People see Valda Discussion Club as a very important event. President's speech in Ashgabat, very important event, and personnel reforms in October, very, very important event. Relatively less important event in the eyes of our people has been the 7th Summit of Turkic Council. You can see from our graphics, every indicator, you can see them. However, let me mention that at least 70% of our respondents see those events important. However, for Turkic Council, this number is just 60, so 10% smaller than the other numbers. Still, overwhelming majority see them as important events. And what our president said and stated on those events are also important. They had those speeches by our president made a very positive impact on most of the people in our sample. So people felt now more patriotic. People now have higher level of trust in our president. And people now have higher trust in the restoration of territorial integrity of Azerbaijan and resolution of dispute with Armenia. Although there were a small number of people who didn't feel any impact from this speech, or there were also some people who said those events are not important at all. So we had all kinds of people, but the overwhelming majority was the ones who saw these events positive. These are the events on political front. On domestic front, people had different attitudes to different topics. That's normal, that's usual. One of the main questions we were really interested in, and that was the first time we inserted this question, was president's performance in different sectors and on different issues. This question has been widely implemented in international surveys when they measured presidents or prime ministers' performance. So we wanted to use them in our context as well. We can see from our numbers that at least 90% of respondents are satisfied with president's performance on army management and development, foreign policy, and personnel reforms in terms of management of government and particular personnel reforms in June and October. That's quite a good number, very impressive, and that's a sign that people are now feeling satisfied with what president do in these areas.
It's quite overwhelming.
Quite overwhelming. However, relatively poorer picture emerged when we look at some other issues like development and management of non-oil sector, agricultural sector, and economy in general. So how president manages economy, how his government manages economy. On these indicators, we have this level of satisfaction around 77, 76. So it is about 15-16% lower than the level of satisfaction attached to other. There is still some room to improve. Government has to take this finding into consideration and pay very detailed attention to this, because these are the areas that directly influence people's daily lives, their social well-being, economic well-being, as well as their agricultural activities if they live in rural areas. Finally, we can look at how people are now satisfied with personnel reforms and did it meet their expectations. About 81% of our respondents, 89% of our respondents.
That's quite high.
That's quite high. It did meet their expectations. Only 11% said that their personnel reforms did not meet my expectations.
That's
not very small, but not very huge. Still, it's a very so the general picture is positive.
Yes.
In terms of the expectations of people from these personnel reforms, the main expectation that came up very frequently was that now we will have more employment opportunities for young people. So that was what people said.
Yeah.
Oh, there were also
that's quite positive,
quite positive,
like expectation.
understandable because now we have more young people in key positions in government. Some people who used to be in their position for quite a long time were removed and replaced by much younger generation. Also, let me touch on one last point. Very concerning issue that emerged in this survey and emerged in the survey conducted in June.
That's quite interesting.
That's the one on the obstacles to reforms. As our president mentioned in his speech several times very recently, there are some factors that can hinder or that can limit the successful reforms. In the views of our people, government authorities itself and the local authorities, especially in places, as well as local officials, are the main obstacle to the successful implementation of reforms. That's very worrisome, that's very concerning. Only 7% of our respondents think that political opposition can be an obstacle. That's quite low, but more than 50% of our respondents think that government itself must increase central oversight and control over its local officials so there cannot be any obstacle to reforms. That's very concerning. We highlighted this in our report. We did this in June and October. So it gave us a chance to comparatively analyze. We can see since June, there are now 10% more people believing that main obstacle is the local authorities. Yes, I believe I covered most of the issues, so with your permission we can proceed ahead.
Okay, to sum up your expressions and delivered facts, according to the main results of the reliability index report, flashing the main findings of the mentioned survey, so we can conclude with the point that the brand new policy line undertaken and being applied by the president, which is regarded as to be a recent strategy, enables the overall conformity and the regulatory compliance with the existing norms, as well as with the currently run policy, especially when considering the young age tendency, with literally speaking, in government's human resources management and personal reforms policy, which is actually in Azerbaijan, and can indeed be referred to what is observed in the country's socio-political life these days. So that is to say, this is a new era of quality change and new formulation of social reforms in government policy covering almost all areas, including many of the state bodies, then even leaves a huge impact to social institutions in the society as well. Well, we touched the most significant aspects of the latest public survey and report run by the SRC Social Research Center, with the most professional researchers gathered to run the most exceptional, most expected by the society and required surveys and research. So to we build the most impactful and reliable source of data by keeping the pulse of the society in touch on the most exceptional issues concerned by either by the local society members or the critical, even vital domains of a deep sea of this globalized world. Thank you, Ingela, for such a descriptive and well-detailed portrait and explanation information provided to us. That's all for now. Thank you for watching us. See you in the upcoming programs of the SRC Media channel. Stay tuned and keep following us. Now we're about to present you a video graphics which is reflecting the main results of the mentioned survey. Thank you for watching us. Have a good day. Goodbye.